Okay, members and friends. So anyway, I'm junking those boxes. You know, I listen to politicians and candidates and people like that talk about we need programs in our community and, you know, things for kids to do, and, you know, it's all about the youth, and, well, there's your youth. You know, I bought those things 2, 3, 4 years ago, and I just can't get anybody to help me put them out in the community. You know, they're no good no more. These ones are going in the garbage. And, you know, everybody wants the money, but nobody wants to freaking work for it. And, you know, even this same thing with the you know, with these courthouses, with these lawyers and, you know, these social workers, and, you know, I don't have a lawyer. I fired my lawyer. I don't, this lawyer that was appointed to me, I don't like her because she was too busy concerned about, you know, my grandson. Well, actually, she wasn't concerned about my grandson. She was more concerned about the social workers being overworked. You know, because I pointed out that we had requested a new office with a new social worker. And she tried to sit up there and said that, well, that wasn't possible because, you know, there's just not enough social workers out there and they're just overworked and, you know, and get over it. And in terms of my daughter being in rehab 6 months later, you know, and she's asking me, like, well, why is she not in rehab? And I'm saying, well, the social workers are trying to blame me for that, trying to say I'm preventing my daughter from going. You know, I don't necessarily think it's the right thing to have my daughter go with the baby at this point into a rehab center with her bipolar and, you know, been shooting drugs for the last 5.5 months with, you know, half a head of hair here. And, you know, like, that doesn't make any sense. So, you know, they can blame me all they want, but at the end of the day, you know, there's nothing stopping my daughter from going except maybe them, because 6 months later, the only thing the lawyer had to say yesterday was, well, there is a long waiting list. Okay, so I guess that's why they kicked her out on December 11th, because on December 6th, they knew that there was a long waiting list. So rather than have her at home for 6 months, living a peaceful life and being productive and planting gardens with her son like she did last year, you know, it's just better to have her out in the street and strung out on junk, right? Because that's basically what they did. And this lawyer doesn't want to acknowledge that any more than any other lawyer out there at this point in time. So I just said, forget it. You know, forget it. Like, I don't need that kind of representation. I need somebody that's actually cares, you know, somebody that actually represents the child and the family. And we're not talking about the drug-addicted mother that the social workers kicked out on the streets. We're talking about the family, including the mother, because everybody's affected. And my daughter is still waiting for rehab. You know, I can go take you into my living room and put the camera on her right now to show you how she's sitting there waiting, sleeping, you know, standing and sitting up, waiting. Because she moseyed on home yesterday, found her way, right? She hasn't been home for days, right? She only comes in once in a while to check in just to let me know she's still alive, right? So tomorrow I'm going to court by myself, without a lawyer. I have a spare book. I asked for my book back, because the lawyer didn't even take the time to read one page. The only page that she read came from social services, asking for their 3-month, you know, extension for their custody. Well, what the hell? Do they have custody or not? You know, like, who the hell has custody of Andre? Why do they need to ask for another 3 more months if they have custody already and they keep him in freaking foster care? What are they protecting him from? A bunch of collection boxes that those people don't want to help support, but yet they sit up there and cry with their MLAs and their candidates. Oh, we need more youth programs. Oh, we need we need more youth programs. No, what you need is a head. You know, you need some common sense. You need to stop thinking about yourself. Like, honest to God, these people, all they do is think about themselves. You know, my grandson is languishing in foster care, hasn't gained any weight, you know, being mistreated, totally disconnected from his family, being discriminated against, his family's being discriminated against, his mother's being mistreated, abused and maltreated and neglected and ignored. You know, I'm sick of this shit. So tomorrow, I don't know, I may or may not bring one of my kids in with me with the case conference. I'm entitled to have a witness. So I may bring one of my kids with me, or I may go in by myself, but I'm not going to have some wannabe fucking lawyer that's just coming into the game sitting there saying, well, you know, social workers are overworked. Who cares? Maybe they shouldn't be taking kids away that it's not appropriate, and then they wouldn't be so overworked. Like, honest to God, these people need to get a life. Like, they need to get their own freaking lives. And these social workers that have fucked with mine, they need to get fired. Like they do. They need to get fired. People need to start getting fired. Just like those boxes right there need to go in the garbage can. Let's start throwing some of these fucking social workers into the garbage can through, you know, letters of resignation, you know, pink slips. That's what they call them. They call them pink slips. Start giving these bitches some pink slips.
And family budgets. But I've also heard a lot of things about things we should be spending more on, things we should be doing more of. And the reality is there's a disconnect between those two things. We all want more, but we all want to pay less. And that's the challenge of governing. Making the decisions of how best to allocate resources, tax resources, to provide programs and services for all of British Columbia and to meet all of the changing and often competing demands is a challenging job. This was about youth, and the reality is that we are training more students in post-secondary education than ever before. We're graduating more apprentices than ever before. We've spent $2 billion in capital to make sure facilities are in place so that people can get the jobs of the future. But the reality is that unless we're making the economy strong and we're providing opportunity for businesses to want to invest and do business in British Columbia, all of our students will have to leave the province for another part of the world to get a job. And that's not what we want. So we have to balance the decisions that we make to ensure that we are supporting the economy to grow our opportunities to do all the other things that we want to do in British Columbia. That's our choice. Our choice this election is about growing the economy or growing the size and cost of government. Thank you very much for being here tonight, and thank you to my fellow candidates for being here. This is not an easy thing to do, and I admire them all very much for standing for office. Thank you.
Next up is student keeping of the BC NDP party.
So again, I'd like to say thank you to everybody here. It's a nice warm evening out there. It's nice to enjoy the air conditioning in here. Thank you to the people who organized this event. I think it's really wonderful to have so many people come out and want to listen to and participate in the democratic process. You heard my colleague here, Harry Cooner, talk about how the NDP is going to move forward and engage more people in the political process. We want to open that process up and do things such as we're going to say what we're going to do, we're going to say how we're going to pay for it, and then we're going to follow through. So there won't be any flip-flops on my watch, I'll tell you that right now. And anyone who knows me, I'm an advocate, but I stand up for the people in my riding, the people I advocate for, and I'm determined and I don't stop. So I won't give up, and I will make sure that we follow through on all the promises that we've made. So I want to talk a little bit about students and leadership, because I think the students that are here that are asking questions, there aren't, especially the ones that aren't able to vote yet, I think that they need to understand that our democratic process is about disagreeing. It is about arguing. It is a little bit about, you know, we can all respect each other and sit up here and we can all, you know, disagree and have different opinions. But we need to be professional. We need to understand that part of that dialogue or discussion or question period and challenging each other is part of the political process. That we have to do it with respect, we have to do it with honesty, and that's what I want to bring to the position of MLA. I want to work hard for the people of my riding, I want to be honest, I want to follow through, I want to engage people at all levels, and I want to engage the youth so that they are part of the political process. Thank you.
Concluding remarks come from Howard Wu, representing the BC Conservative Party.
First of all, thank everybody for coming out tonight and listen to me and my fellow candidates for what we have to say. I think, like I said previously, I think we agree on a lot of things in terms of strategic approaches, where we defer our tactical approaches. So let's refocus back to tonight's topic, which was education and youth. Like I said, in the startup world, I'm like an 80-year-old. You know, most of the people I work with are 30 and under. The Twitter guys are young guys. Zuckerberg is definitely young. And I think it's important for our youth in this province to realize that while you heard a lot tonight about spending, about building more facilities, about doing this or post-secondary education, at the end of the day, how do we measure those investments? Do we measure them by, okay, we built a building, we built a school, that's it? Or do we measure them by how many people have graduated and how many have gone on employment? how easy it is for our young people to find jobs, good paying jobs. I don't mean free internships. I mean good, decent wages paying jobs here in British Columbia. I've dealt with a lot of, whether it's SFU grads, UBC, BCIT grads, and even the countries I travel to, whether it's in Europe or in Asia or in America, all the young people of the world face the same challenge right now, and that is there is a disconnect between the way we educate fundamentally in the educational system and how we get jobs. You know, the education system hasn't really changed in the last 50 years. My grandparents went to college, I went to college. However, our world has changed. The way we do business has changed. We went from local to global. And how is British Columbia, with all our God-given resources and our tremendous talent, how are we able to take advantage of everything that's been blessed? And how
At this stage, I will pass things back to Linda Stromberg. But before I do so, I want to just quickly say, on your behalf, I would like to thank Linda Stromberg, Chair of the Surrey Board of Directors, for arranging this, along with Melanie Holden, the Chief Librarian, and her staff, for putting this evening on for us. I think it's been a tremendous opportunity to find out where the candidates stand on the various positions. I want to thank all of you for being a wonderful audience, very attentive, and for the great questions that you've given, and for the respect that you've shown to these people up here in front of you tonight, for the difficult job that they have done with grace and humour. So thank you to all of you, and I'll pass it back to Linda.
Well, I just want to thank Nigel very much for stepping up and handling this meeting in such a wonderful manner. I really appreciate all of you folks coming out tonight and expressing your concerns. I'm sorry that we didn't get to all the questions. I did ask for names, but I didn't ask for contact information on those forms. But what I can do, because the candidates would probably appreciate it, is copy those questions and see that the candidates get them all so that they're aware of other concerns that are being raised tonight, even though time didn't allow the opportunity for the questions. I want to thank the candidates for coming out tonight and supporting the community and letting us hear your views on their concerns. It's really important, and the library is very happy to host this and other events similarly for the community. So thank you all very much.